Hello, my name is Eloy Sherlock, and I got a great video for you today, and I'm going to show you how to make your music sound cinematic. Now take a listen to this 70-second demo, and then afterwards, we're going to break it all down. All right, everyone, places. Here we go. Very good. Now that is a great sounding orchestra. And great demos start with great samples. I use the VSL samples. They're Big Bang, they're Synchron, they're VI series. I mesh them all together through Mirror Pro 3D. And what a great sounding universe. When I was putting together this demo, I was thinking, okay, it is cinematic. I want to do a cinematic one, but what am I doing? And so I started thinking, well, what I'm doing is I'm putting together an adventure. So as the first opening bars come out, you start hearing this FX sound, and on top of it, you've got a timpani that's kind of rolling. Then all of a sudden, now you hear the hero's theme. It's a horn that's playing by itself. Then the roaring underneath of the low brass, that's that hero's nemesis. And then all of a sudden, you start hearing the adversarial relationship that they have between each other. And then it goes into an adventure, and you can hear the drums, the rim shots coming from the snare. That continues, and then all of a sudden it starts to simmer down a little bit. And then you hear the woodwinds coming in, and then you hear the pizzicatos from the strings coming in, and as the adventure then moves on to its next portion. So when you're putting these ideas down, start thinking, what would do these people sound like? And start introducing their own themes to your project. And by doing that, now all of a sudden you've got this multi-dimensional sound instead of just this what I call a cacophony of sound. When I go and I hear a score and it's just like, oh, it's horrible because it just hurts your ears. It's just this mass wave of sound, and it doesn't mean anything. So put together themes. It goes up, it goes down, and you'll be so much better for it. There you go. Now, let's go into how to do this. Okay, so now let's go inside and let's remove our score. Let's remove my score here. And we're inside of Logic Pro. And I'm going to start off with the FX. And the FX is just going underneath. One note being held, and that FX is inside of the Synchron strings. FX is called Silent Hill, and there's all kinds of other different morphine of that sound that goes on. And then on top of that then is the monster drum, and monster drums can only come from the Big Bang series. And inside of the Big Bang series, these things are just huge. Let's get this here. If you're going to have cinematic sounds, You need big sounding drums. Beautiful stuff. Then we have our horn that comes into play. And the horn that's being used here is a solo horn, and it's from the Synchron series. It's the solo horn. Now, then all of a sudden underneath that you hear the brass. Now, this is where things really get it's just amazing, because now I'm using Divisimate. And with one note, I'm playing multiple instruments. And how that's achieved is inside of the orchestrator that they have here. You can play one note, and each one of the instruments, horn 1, horn 2, this horn 2 has a transposer, and that's -4 for the second horn. For the trombone, it's -7. For the tubas, it's -12. So now all of a sudden, we have this sounding. Amazing. One finger. So it's giving you all of the notes, the full chord. And if I try to play that, especially when I'm doing fast passages, what happens is it gets messy and sloppy, and then you have to quantize, and then it sounds very robotic, because VSL allows you to set the attacks, to humanize, and it's just truly wonderful. So now you have that was the low brass that had come in. After that, then you've got the strings. And the strings, same thing. I'm only playing one note. So let's go over to here, and I'm going to pull up the strings constant. And at this point here, I'm going to pull up the strings here. I saw this guy. Oh, wrong strings. This strings. There we go. I used the VI series in combination with the Synchron series. And here we have the pizzicatos. Oh. Or wow. Here you've got the violins 1, the violins 2, the violas, the cellos, all playing different notes with one finger through Divisimate. And it's when you're playing fast passages, you just I can't do that by putting in layer on layer. So when we go in the orchestrator here, same thing. We have all one note being played, and the transposer showing -3 on the violins 2, on the violas -7, and on the cellos -11. And you just get just a fantastic sound. Or legatos. Beautiful, just beautiful. And then underneath all of that, as the adventure continued, then we had the different, here we have the snares. The snares that are coupled with the tambourines. So I went to their VI series, and inside of their VI series, I have tambourines. And inside of the snare drums, we have, oh, we've got to pull up the volume here. What am I doing wrong here? Oh, have to highlight it. Okay, So then I have the VI series being used for the snare rim shots. But we have all kinds of different combinations. Just marvelous stuff. So much to be able to choose from. And this is where I go. Okay, so now we're in the middle part. The adventure is truly on its way. And we have the strings reintroducing a theme that we've already heard. So I'm introducing on the lower end, I'm adding the bass. And here we have the bass movement going underneath it. So as you move forward and you're putting together your themes, start thinking, how can I change it just a little bit? So then that way it's to your ears, it's more pleasing. You're saying, oh, that was pretty neat how that got done. Next, we have the woodwinds. And the woodwinds, I'm doing the exact same thing that I did before. So I go into the flutes and the clarinets, and we see them here, one note being played, and the transposer goes ahead and sets each one of the notes just a little bit different. So then that way, as you're playing one portion, I could never do that, trying to put in all the different parts. It just wouldn't work. So then after that, we have the violins that come back into play, doing the pizzicatos and the snare rim shots, and the tambourines are then underneath it. And that's it. It's just 70 seconds of playing literally with one finger all over the keyboard. I highly recommend that you get to know your tools. The better you know your tools, the more often that you use them, the better everything will sound, and the better that you'll feel, because you're going to get better feedback by doing over and over, repeating, repetitive, by practicing. And before you know it, you'll say, wow, that sounds pretty good. And that's what you want. You want to be able to grow. Once again, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for spending time with me. It's been a joy sharing all this with you. God bless. Take care. All right, I'm going to share a tip with you, and this is what I call the smearing effect on staccatos. If you're an owner of the VSL Synchron String Series and the VI Series Orchestra and the Appassionata, then this is for you. Here we are inside of violins 1, because I have violins 1, violins 2, violas, cellos, and basses. So this applies to all of them. When I'm listening to just the violin 1, the staccatos, it sounds like this. Very nice. But now when we go ahead and we add the Appassionata strings, it gives so much life to this. And the staccato itself has a delay of 7, and I've added in a perfect repetition. If you look inside of the Violins Orchestra folder, you'll see perfect upbeat repetitions. 1 slow, 2 slow, 1 fast, 2 fast, and this gives you that smearing effect, because not everybody in the orchestra placed perfectly together, so now it sounds like this. And when you add that to your second violins, because here we have synchron violins 2, and I added the orchestra violins, and we got the staccato longs with a perfect repetition, upbeat, one slow. Now it sounds like this. It's like it's soaring. Beautiful stuff.